You're listening to Skeptoid. I'm Brian Dunning from Skeptoid.com. Docu Dangers. Why science documentaries usually suck. Welcome to the show that separates fact from fiction, science from pseudoscience, real history from fake history, and helps us all make better life decisions by knowing what's real and what's not. Skepticism, as someone once said, is where science literacy intersects with consumer protection. The better we understand the tools to tell what's real from what's not, the more successful we can be in every facet of life. That's what we're about here at Skeptoid. As you may know, besides this podcast and some other things, we have pursued this kind of outreach through feature documentary films. Our most recent have been Principles of Curiosity, 2017, Science Friction, 2022, and the UFO movie They Don't Want You to See, 2023. Today, I want to focus attention on the main problem that I struggle with as an independent filmmaker, and it's something I brought onto myself, because my motivation is to make a positive change in the world through skepticism and providing a knowledge-based alternative to harmful misinformation. Filmmaking is successful when large audiences embrace a film. And for a documentary to find this kind of success, it has to be on a popular theme that will find a warm welcome among that target demographic, including celebrities and social media influencers. The problem is that many areas of harmful misinformation are fashionable. For example, take organic food. Celebrities and influencers all love their organic food, and yet every speck of agricultural knowledge that we have tells us it's worse. Organic food has been so successfully greenwashed by the industry that every hip young person in the important cinema demographic thinks it's their moral duty to embrace and spread what is, in fact, harmful misinformation. When I think about what movie to make next, I have a Venn diagram that I use. It's two circles with a small area of overlap. The circle on the left contains the important skeptical topics that I can make a difference in the world by advocating. The circle on the right is a list of topics that celebs and influencers in the important demographic will be receptive to. There's almost nothing in that little intersection. A little El Dorado of ideas that have popular support and are backed by good science. There's at least one topic, though, that is in the El Dorado zone. So let's talk about that. Climate change. The science behind anthropogenic climate change is beyond solid. It's a fact. Misinformation about it abounds, and the consequences of that misinformation are devastating. So, for my goals, making a film that combats climate change misinformation would be an important objective, worthy of our investment. And importantly, celebs and influencers love attacking climate misinformation and would elevate the film. But why they love it is a different matter. It's often not because they all read IPCC AR6 and came to that conclusion through careful study. In many cases, they love it simply because it's fashionable. They love it because the bad guys are the oil companies, the evil corporations, the capitalists, the profiteers, those who pollute uncaringly. But at the end of the day, the reason doesn't matter. The net result is that I can make a film that accomplishes something important, and the audiences will love it, and it will do well and be seen all over the world. We'll have an impact. There's a precedent for this. In 2016, actor Leonardo DiCaprio led a team of awesome collaborators who produced the film Before the Flood, in which he flew all over the world and showed the effects of climate change. It had impact. As a Hollywood favorite, and rightfully so, Leo has a huge fan base. Many of them saw the film because he was in it, and had little prior exposure to the science. In its opening weeks, it got more than 60 million views and was the very first film in history to surpass 1 billion minutes streamed across all platforms. That's impact. So, the value of a topic in the El Dorado zone is undeniable. However, very few film producers seek it out. because they're profit-driven, not mission-driven. And the zone is pretty barren of money-making concepts. They care only about ideas that are popular among the celebrity and influencer crowd, and have no interest in promoting valid science. Ideas like, modern agriculture is evil. Think of Food Inc. 2008, GMO OMG 2013, Kiss the Ground 2020, Poisoned, the dirty truth about your food 2023. Alternative medicine is better than science-based medicine. Think of The Beautiful Truth 2008, A Leaf of Faith 2018, and The Business of Disease 2014. New Age spiritualism is the secret to super health and super success. Think of The Secret 2006, Heal 2017. Diet can cure all disease. The Gerson Miracle 2004, The Magic Pill 2017. UFOs are actually alien visitors. Aerial Phenomenon 2022, Moment of Contact 2022. Anything but a vegan diet will kill you. What the Health 2017, The Game Changers 2018. Any chemical in any concentration is poisonous. Toxic Soup 2010, Stink 2015. We could go on all day. Heck, anything with Deepak Chopra is instantly a celebrity and influencer favorite. Long an enemy of science, Chopra's new agey quotes are still reposted to social media practically every minute. The whole problem of filmmakers favoring anti-scientific content was neatly illustrated in January 2024 when the Wall Street Journal published an article called "These Netflix Documentaries Are Hits, Scientists Hate Them." The article focused on two of these pseudo-documentaries, Cave of Bones and Ancient Apocalypse. Cave of Bones promoted a suggestion made by three anthropologists that the extinct archaic human species Homo naledi buried their dead, made cave art, and used fire, an idea that peer reviewers found unsupported by any evidence and which found almost zero support from the academic community. It was largely based on the discovery of some 1,500 bone fragments scattered in a deep cave in South Africa, representing about 15 individuals, and mixed with bone fragments of other animals. The condition of the bones and the whole context of the scene is consistent with predation. Some large predator dragged body parts down there and ate them. The show portrayed the suggestion as fact, or at worst as the leading theory, and made a big deal over what wonderful intelligent creatures these early humans were to have such amazing abstract skills, even though Homo naledi was from the era when proto-humans still had very small brains. The film appealed to audiences with its sensational and feel-good claim, despite everything we know telling us it's probably wrong. Ancient Apocalypse was much worse. It was essentially an infomercial promoting the numerous provably false claims of ancient advanced civilization theorist Graham Hancock, a former journalist with no background in either history or anthropology, and who rejects much of what's known about human history and prehistory, asserting instead that some mystical ancient race of advanced beings is actually responsible for much of human culture. He believes that the advanced race became extinct in some global cataclysm. He also believes Mars had an ancient advanced civilization, which was similarly destroyed in a cataclysm. Hancock has zero credibility within any of the relevant scientific communities, yet has become wealthy selling his anti-knowledge in books and TV shows. It is impossible to read anything about Hancock without learning that he is universally considered a crackpot. So that show's producers unquestionably knew that they were producing fiction. They presented it as if Hancock is some brave maverick who dares to ask the questions mainstream scientists won't, because it would threaten their Grant gravy train or something. The basic problem is summarized in this line I spoke in the UFO movie. People forget that TV shows are entertainment. Nobody at the network cares how accurate it is. They only care that you watch. Although it's pretty easy for us to identify the problem, finding the solution is much more elusive. That El Dorado zone is pretty lonely. There are a number of topics that seem like they might fit, but under scrutiny they don't. Examples would include things like inoffensive nature documentaries, like the Planet Earth series. Celebs and influencers certainly love these, and any science in them is probably sound. But they're not important cases of popular misinformation that need to be corrected. There are scads of documentaries that, quote, raise awareness of some global injustice, cases of starvation or oppression or genocide or environmental catastrophe. But these are not controversial, and there's rarely misinformation needing to be countered. And Skeptoid is not the org best positioned with the core competence to spread that particular word. We want the cases where there's a lot of popular misinformation, and where celebs and influencers will be on our side to help publicize our movie. What about vaccine science? To a certain degree, that's in the El Dorado zone. It's absolutely important science where disinformation is doing tremendous harm, and there are celebrities behind it. But the social media influencers are pretty split on the science. Many of them lean heavily into the conspiracy theory angle on everything. There are wacky alternative science subcultures, like the ancient astronaut conspiracy theorists, even the flat earthers. I'm not sure I'd devote our limited resources to this. Since that stuff is so goofy, it will probably always remain marginalized without our help. When the 2018 film Behind the Curve came out, which was about flat earth culture, it was fun, but I doubt it changed any minds. It wasn't so much an educational documentary as it was a groan-inducing lark watching some train wreck personalities. What about other medical misinformation not related to vaccines? This is much worse. Celebs and influencers are nearly universally in lockstep in their embrace of unproven or disproven alternative medicine and wellness schemes. Clearly, it's an important subject area bursting with misinformation that needs to be corrected. But such a documentary would be largely unfashionable and would not do well. And the need to do well, at least reasonably well, is the third corner of a triangle. The first two are the ones that intersect in the El Dorado zone to make a good concept. First, it has to be an important topic where we can have a beneficial impact. Second, it has to be a topic that will find acceptance among at least a decent percentage of the influencer-driven demographic. And third, it has to be sufficiently financially viable that we can come back and make another film tomorrow. It's much easier to do any two of the three than it is to do all three of them. And because studios and film professionals all live in a real world and have to make their money, they usually prioritize that. They make a movie that's going to make money, that's going to be shared and promoted around. And so those other goals, to get out the unpopular message, which could have a real positive impact in the world, are the first to get slashed. Make something that's feel-good, that's uncontroversial, and that the celebs all love. And so that's my long-winded answer to why science documentaries usually suck, and how and why I make the choices that I make when we're evaluating what film to make next here at Skeptoid Media. When it comes around, if you want to be a part of it, simply join our mailing list for info about our films. The easiest way to do that is to go to the website for the latest one. That's the UFO.movie. And there's a place you can put in your email address, and we'll keep you posted. That website again is theufo.movie. Let's make the next one a good one. Since you're a premium member, we're now going to continue with some extended content that the free listeners don't get. Here it is. So, our 2017 film, Principles of Curiosity, was a 40-minute runtime introduction to critical thinking, intended to run during the length of an average high school class, and it came with free educational materials for the teachers to use. It's free online if you haven't seen it, principlesofcuriosity.com. If you've seen it, you may recall that a lot of it happens in Death Valley, and there are some scenic shots that could really only be taken from the air. Well, you can't get a filming permit to do any aerial photography in Death Valley, so we had to find a location that could double for it. And what we found was Hammertown, USA, the site of the annual King of the Hammers desert race, located in California's Johnson Valley. For the final shot, you see the Skeptoid monster Jeep driving up to the edge of a precipice and looking out over an incredible landscape. Great shot to end the movie. It was shot on a great big crescent-shaped hill, a few hundred feet high. To get there, the road takes a big, long, circuitous route that eventually takes you up on top of the ridge, which is where we did all the shooting. It was just the two of us. I was driving the Jeep, and the director, Ryan Johnson, was flying the camera drone and telling me when to go where back and forth. We probably spent an hour or two getting all the shots. So then, once we were done, I was looking at the maps for the quickest route back. I didn't want to go back the way we came, and from the GPS elevation data, it looked like there was an easy shortcut down off one side. So we went that way. As a careful off-roader, I got out and walked down to scout the route first, to make sure there weren't any places we wouldn't be able to get past. It was a lot steeper and longer than I anticipated, with a lot of gnarly angles, but it looked like I could pick a safe enough route down. So we commenced, all four wheels locked and in low range. When something looks steep to you when you're standing there looking at it, trust me, it looks a whole lot steeper when you're in a Jeep going down it. This was a lot gnarlier than I thought. Most of it was a broad, flat, slick rock face. I got to one point and there was a step down ahead that was too much, considering the angle we were already at. We'd have somersaulted if I'd tried it. So I had to turn right to get to a parallel track that didn't have that step. The problem was that turning risked putting us at a rollover angle. I should add at this point that I was already well into regret. I should not have come this way, but it was too late, as it wasn't really possible to reverse back up to the top. Also, I didn't really tell Ryan what a bad situation we were in, though in retrospect, I probably should have told him to get out. The diagonal turn was working very slowly. I was getting closer to the safe track, but we were seriously close to a rollover. At one point, the downhill left front wheel was on a loose boulder that was sitting on the slick rock. There wasn't really a way to avoid it. And then it moved. All four wheels stopped, foot firm on the brake, started to creep forward again, and then it happened. The rock rolled under the tire, lifting the front of the Jeep. The uphill right front tire lifted, and over we started to go. I cranked it left and hit the throttle. The left side went down that step, and the right side made it onto the parallel track, keeping us from somersaulting. I gassed it some more and straightened out, rocks tumbling all around us, and rode that slope like a bucking bronco until we got to the bottom. It was seriously the closest I've ever had to a rollover, and the closest I ever hoped to get. Anyway, don't tell Ryan just how close we were. A great big Skeptoid shout-out to our premium members, including Nick from I Want to Rewatch an X-Files podcast, Jimmy in Bavaria, Spicy Morris, and Barbara and Steve Gowan. Let me give you a shout-out too. It's easy, just log into the members portal at Skeptoid.com and click Shout-outs and Stories to tell me what you want me to say. And remember, every Skeptoid episode has a transcript page at Skeptoid.com with complete bibliographic references and further reading suggestions. And they also print out into nicely formatted PDF documents that you can share. Skeptoid is a production of Skeptoid Media. Director of Operations and Tinfoil Hat Counter is Kathy Reitmeyer. Marketing Guru and Illuminati Liaison is Jake Young. Production Management and All Things Audio by Will McCandless. Music is by Lee Sanders. Researched and written by me, Brian Dunning. You're listening to Skeptoid, a listener-supported program. I'm Brian Dunning from Skeptoid.com.